My friend, there are moments in life when heaven begins to move quietly behind the scenes. While you're sleeping, while you're crying, while you're wondering if anyone still cares, God is working. Somewhere, someone has been on their knees, whispering your name in secret prayers you don't even know about. You may not have seen their tears, but heaven has collected every one. You may not have heard their voice cry out for you, but the angels have carried those petitions before the throne of God. And now, heaven is saying, the answer has arrived. This message is for the one who's been waiting, trusting, and holding on through the silence. For the one who thought God forgot about love, marriage, or companionship in their life. You've been through heartbreaks, delays, disappointments, but the Spirit of the Lord is declaring the wait was never a denial, it was divine preparation. So listen closely, because the person who prayed for you in secret has finally been heard in heaven's court. There are moments in life when we underestimate the power of a whispered prayer. We think that unless it is shouted from the rooftops or declared before the world, God won't hear it. But heaven operates differently. Heaven hears the smallest sigh, the quietest cry, the faintest, "Lord, help me." When someone kneels in the stillness of the night, speaking your name in secret before the throne of God, that prayer carries a fragrance that reaches the very heart of heaven. It doesn't need to be public to be powerful. It doesn't need to be seen to be sacred. God values the prayers that are born from sincerity, humility, and love. Somewhere, someone has prayed for you without your knowing. They didn't do it for attention, approval, or recognition. They prayed because their heart was moved by something divine. Perhaps they felt a spiritual connection, a stirring deep within their soul that told them you were meant to play a role in their destiny. And they brought that feeling before God, asking not for what they wanted, but for what heaven willed. When those kinds of prayers rise to heaven, they do not vanish. They are recorded in eternity. Move the angels to action. They move the heart of God to prepare and align. God begins to orchestrate circumstances, guiding both lives toward a divine meeting, a destined moment that will unfold in perfect timing. We often wonder how people find their way into our lives at just the right time. How do paths cross so precisely? How do two souls, once strangers, meet in such harmony? It is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is the invisible hand of God responding to prayers whispered in faith. The person who prayed for you may not have known the details of your life, your struggles, your fears, or your dreams. Yet, their prayer covered you. They asked God to strengthen you, to protect you, to prepare you for what is coming. And God, who sees both hearts, began to weave the unseen threads of destiny together. There are seasons when you might feel forgotten, when it seems like no one notices your worth or understands your heart. But even in those moments, someone has been interceding for you. You may not see their face. You may not even know their name. But heaven has heard their voice crying out for your peace, your healing, your restoration, your joy. That's how divine love works. It starts in prayer long before it starts in person. The prayers of the righteous do not expire. They hover in the atmosphere until God's appointed time for them to manifest. The angels assigned to those prayers carry them before the throne, and in due time, the answer descends like gentle rain on dry ground. There's something profoundly beautiful about being loved through prayer. It's love that asks for nothing in return. Love that doesn't demand attention. It's love that trusts God more than human effort. And that's the kind of love heaven honors. Because when someone prays for you in secret, they're asking God to bless you, even if you never know they did. They're asking for your soul to prosper, your faith to grow, your heart to heal. That kind of love is not born from flesh, but from spirit. It reflects God's own nature. The kind of love that gives, sacrifices, and believes without evidence. Maybe without realizing it, you have been the focus of such prayers. While you were asking God for answers, someone else was asking God to give you peace. While you were struggling to hold on, someone else was asking God to give you strength. And now, heaven is moving in response to those overlapping cries. There is divine activity happening that you cannot see. The person who prayed for you did not waste their words. Their prayer has been heard, and God is responding. The angels are aligning the steps, the places, the encounters that will bring both of you face to face at the right time. Humbling to realize that love can begin in the unseen. That while the world measures love in moments and emotions, heaven measures it in prayer and purpose. When someone prays for you in secret, they are already building the foundation of a bond that will last. It's not just about finding a partner. It's about two souls being drawn together through faith, surrender, and divine design. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. Somewhere, someone has lifted your name to the Father, and that prayer has reached heaven's throne. And though the answer may take time, it is already on its way, carried by the wings of angels who have heard the cry and are now bringing it to pass in God's perfect time. Waiting is one of the hardest tests of faith a person can face. In the waiting that our trust in God is refined, our hearts are softened, and our motives are purified. Many people think delay means denial, but in heaven's language, delay often means development. God uses time as His greatest teacher. He doesn't withhold blessings to punish us. He withholds them to prepare us. When you've been praying for love, for companionship, for a God-ordained marriage, and it feels like nothing is happening, that's not because heaven is silent. It's because heaven is shaping you for what's coming. God will never send a blessing to an unprepared heart, because what arrives before maturity can be easily mishandled. During your waiting season, God works in hidden ways. He's molding your character, healing your wounds, and aligning your desires with His will. You may not see progress, but something sacred is happening beneath the surface. The waiting is building endurance. It's teaching you to trust without proof, to worship without results, and to love without conditions. You begin to realize that the purpose of waiting isn't just to receive what you prayed for, but to become the kind of person who can sustain it. God cannot join two people prematurely because immature love breaks under pressure. So He allows seasons of solitude, of learning, of self-discovery, so that when the promise arrives, you're ready to receive it with gratitude and wisdom. There is also someone else who's been praying in this story. While you are waiting, they are too. God is preparing both hearts simultaneously. One may be growing in faith, while the other is learning patience. One may be healing from past wounds, while the other is being trained to protect and cherish. And when the time is right, those two journeys will converge like rivers flowing into one ocean. You see, God is not only writing your story, He's writing theirs too, weaving two lives that have been walking separate paths into a divine intersection. Every delay, every heartbreak, every closed door was part of that preparation. Heaven was protecting you from what was not meant for you. Every time something didn't work out, it wasn't rejection. It was redirection toward the one God ordained for you. Easy to grow weary in the waiting. You look around and see others moving forward, getting married, building families, finding their partners, and you wonder if God has forgotten you. But God's silence is not His absence. Sometimes He hides you because you're not meant to be found by everyone. He's keeping you covered until the right person, the one He's been preparing in secret, is ready to recognize your worth through His eyes. The waiting season is sacred because it's where God transforms loneliness into intimacy with Him, where He teaches you that you are whole even before the promise comes. There's a refining that happens in stillness. Just as gold must pass through fire to be purified, your faith must go through seasons of uncertainty to be perfected. Every unanswered prayer, every quiet night, every tear that falls in frustration is shaping your spirit into one that depends fully on God. Because when love does come, you'll know it wasn't your doing, it was His. And you'll treat it differently. You'll treasure it because you understand what it costs to wait for it. Waiting builds gratitude. Waiting builds reverence for what's holy, strips away the impatience and pride that ruins so many relationships, and replaces them with humility, compassion, spiritual discernment. Sometimes the person who prayed for you is being tested too. They might have cried out to God, asking why they haven't met you yet. They might have wondered if their prayers were in vain. But just as God is working in you, working in them, He's teaching them how to love, not through infatuation, but through faithfulness. He's shaping them to lead, protect, and cherish the gift He's about to entrust to them, you. And when both hearts are finally aligned, God will allow the meeting to happen so naturally, it will feel like destiny unfolding. You won't have to chase, beg, or manipulate it. It will be peaceful, clear, and God ordained. In hindsight, you'll look back and thank God for the waiting. You'll understand why the doors didn't open sooner, why some people walked away, and why you had to go through seasons of emptiness. God wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. He was protecting what was meant to be permanent from being lost in a temporary season. The waiting wasn't wasted. It was woven into your destiny. Every moment was necessary to refine your faith and purify your love, so that when you finally stand before the person who once prayed for you in secret, Spirit will recognize theirs, not through sight, but through the peace that comes only from God's perfect timing. Heaven is never still when faith is in motion. Even when it seems nothing is happening, the unseen realm is alive with divine activity. Angels are working behind the scenes in ways your natural eyes cannot perceive. While you are questioning the silence, heaven is busy setting things in order. There are assignments being carried out on your behalf, timing being perfected, hearts being softened, obstacles being removed, and paths being aligned. You may not realize it, but your prayers and the prayers of the one who's meant for you have stirred the angels into motion. God has released divine messengers to ensure that what he promised will come to pass exactly when it should. The angels of the Lord are not idle spectators. They are active participants in the fulfillment of God's will. Sometimes you wonder why certain relationships never worked, why doors closed abruptly, or why people you once loved drifted away without explanation. It wasn't random, it was intervention. The angels of God stepped in to protect you from connections that would have broken your spirit or delayed your destiny. When you cried over someone leaving, heaven rejoiced because that departure was necessary for your redirection. The angels were guarding what you could not see. They saw the traps, the distractions, and the counterfeit love that looked appealing but carried no divine approval. Their duty was to keep you aligned with God's timeline, even if that meant allowing temporary heartbreak to preserve eternal purpose. In the spiritual realm, every step you take is being watched and guided. Angels are not simply guardians. They are messengers of alignment. They move according to the word of God, not the impatience of man. When the right person begins to pray, when their faith reaches the heavens with sincerity, angels begin to connect the invisible dots. They may delay one person's move, change another's location, or open a door at a time that seems unusual, all to ensure divine order. The steps of the righteous are not random, they are orchestrated. You think you're just making everyday choices, but in truth, you are walking through a map heaven has already drawn. While you wait, angels are whispering guidance